off. You're live on social media.
Guys with Ranch and Ron, two ball guys with Ranch and Ron, two ball guys with Ranch and Ron. Along bringing Monday morning time to rise and shine. Want some motivation? Well, I know a few guys with the internet connection. 216 is on. Tune in the two ball guys with Ranch and Ron. Introducing Coach Papa Tim Stewart's his name. He's a master with the pen in the poetry game. He wants to see a better world and he plays his part. Always loving, always giving, cause he's got a big heart. The co-host won't boast where he could stand on his own. From the state of Iowa, it's the man Ken Jones. He's impressive on the mic and he don't need a cord. Whether hosting or achieving, he's controlling the boards. And the one feeding the hungry herd around the world. With Tommy observation, dropping nuggets and pearls. Though he's not a city slicker, he's as cool as the Fonz. It's the witty wisdom giver, Mr. Rancher Ron. Set the tone for your week, 216 is on. Tune in to two ball guys with Rancher Ron.
Good morning, and Rancher Ron is still with us in spirit. The lessons he taught us, the mentoring he gave us, so that's why we stick with that intro. Rancher Ron.
I think so.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
It came quick.
It did.
And it's a beautiful rainy Monday morning here at the studio, which means I wanted to keep sleeping.
Yeah. Part of this new training includes habitude and talks about a way to get up quicker, get up earlier. And it's, it works.
It does.
I jumped right out of bed this morning, got ready, got in here, just felt excited. I'm taking off for Toronto tomorrow to go up and I get a talk on combat brain training.
Nice.
To the A people.
Hey,
Kind of looking at my translations.
Yeah, nice. All right. Good weekend for you.
It was.
Good week, I guess. Huh?
That was good. I got 70 miles in on the bike, a 43-mile bike ride on Friday, which felt really good. Then yesterday I sharpened the blades on the lawnmower. You know, I
got all your fingers, which
year.
is good.
I do. But put it back together and it didn't work right yet. I'm sure you've never had that happen.
Never.
And
extra parts.
And just this one little washer. Who knew how important that little washer was? But got the lawnmower, the blades fixed, and the lawn cut. Just a good weekend. We had a picnic for small groups at church yesterday, so got to hang out with a bunch of people from our church and have some sandwiches.
Nice. Mine was cool. Got a lot done around the house. We're building an outdoor kitchen right now for our new house. Got a beautiful patio that's there. So we're putting in a bar and a grill area.
It's going to be similar to the one you built.
Yeah, it'll be close, but a lot bigger. But again, all with reclaimed wood, and it'll look really, really cool.
I'm looking forward to my invitation.
Yeah, we'll have you.
Christen it.
We'll have you all over, which is good. So, we just got done talking about the good life,
living the good life,
that series, and we wanted to jump back into self-help.
Self-help.
Right now, a few months ago, we did a series when Mike was with us that talked about the gurus, I guess. Not right.
Yeah.
So not necessarily self-help, but
self-important.
The gurus. Yeah. Right. This is $1 billion industry, self-help. And so many people look to self-help, quote unquote, right? Books, tapes, VCRs. I mean, you name it, going back forever, way back to when Zig Ziglar basically started this stuff.
Right. When you're looking at self-help, you're talking about, mental improvement, physical improvement, right down to how do I build my own kitchen and my patio.
Yeah.
Right. Finding ways to do it ourselves. Why do you think that whole industry started?
I think that that people fell in love with the cadence and the speaking. And wait a minute, that guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and I'm motivated now.
I feel inspired.
Yeah, exactly.
There was Zig was speaking one time, and the guy in the audience raised his hand, and it wasn't really the question and answer session. He said, "No." The guy was kind of persistent. He said, "Can I help you, sir?" And he says, "Zig," he said, "you're entertaining, you're fun, you inspire me. That's great, but this whole motivation stuff, it just doesn't stick all that long. Tomorrow I got to go back to work." And Zig says, "Neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily." And
Yeah.
we've got to feed ourselves that positive, inspirational stuff daily. We have to find sources. The sources aren't going to find us. I'm not going to jump in the car and the car automatically switches to a inspirational podcast. We have to go out looking for it.
Yeah, and I think I we've got it. Self-help, the myths, right? The idea is in people, I think, is I'm unhappy. I can do better. Look what he or she has. Look at that person's body. Man, I need to look like that. Boy, look at that person's Maserati. I should have a Maserati and a mansion. Lifestyle of the rich and
Self-driving
famous.
Tesla.
Yeah, and that's why it's a $1 billion business, is because it preys on the insecurities of people.
Well, I probably couldn't agree with you more on that. When it first started, the Zig Ziglars, the Norman Vincent Peales, these guys were out here truly to give inspiration, to help people. At some point along the way, self-help scammers, they came up with programs or processes that worked for them. And then they go out and they give you just enough to tease you and make you feel that this guy has the answer. And then it's like, and for $3,974, you too can have everything I have.
Hey, for $5,000 this weekend. Yeah, right. They're out there, right? Here's the thing. You've been quote unquote and I say quote unquote because you call yourself a coach, but the quote unquote comes into the life part of it, right? A life coach, right? And you don't tag yourself as a life coach, but people would go to the bookshelf and file you in as that. Yeah.
Yes.
And you've been doing that for how long?
Over 15 years now.
Yeah. And there are a ton of people out there doing that as well. And I've struggled with personally, I've struggled with life coach for a long time. Right. Okay. And I look at people and go, well, when your life is perfect, then you go ahead and coach me, right? Yet I will buy a book from somebody whose life's not perfect, read it and go, highlight it, take notes on it, follow them on social media,
reach out to them on LinkedIn and they call you back.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest myths in self-help is that it actually works.
I agree with you, because a lot of people who go out looking for it, they're looking for a magic answer.
Yeah.
And the answer always lies within themselves. One of the ways that I really try to set myself apart is when I sit with people, I explain them right away. I don't have any answers for you.
Yeah.
My job is to help you find your own answers.
Yeah.
And as we do that, then they're more inclined to improve, to do things. Now, over the years of our show, we've had so many guests, from Chuck Inman to Noah St. John, who all have little snippets that help. And as I'm meeting with people, Noah St. John stuff might might help this person.
Yeah.
Chemical brain freeze and Chuck Inman might help this person. But I can't go in there with a blanket and say, I have this program. You check all the boxes in this program. You're going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I just don't do that.
Right. Hey, good morning, Shana. Thanks for jumping on. She says, I can imagine as a quote unquote guru, it might be hard not to fall into feeling anointed and special. After all, if people drop big bucks to see you or read your ideas, it must mean you are somehow special.
And you can make your checks to two
bald
guys and a microphone.
Yeah. So the big names in self-help, and we've got good friends. We've had them on. We've had you go back into the archives. 4, 5, 6 years ago now. Geez, 6 years ago, and we've had great people on that are quote unquote the gurus. Here's what I want people to understand. These people are rock stars. They're like big rock bands. They go out, they sell out, coliseums. They do a great job. They're worth millions and millions of dollars. But it doesn't mean that they're not connecting with people, right? And yeah, you even can take a look at star athletes or musicians in that nature, and they somehow feel special because people are,
Well, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. When people, and I couldn't agree with you, Shana. When people start throwing money at you, you must be good. I think I'm more like the guitar player in Village Squire. Connecting with the one or two people. But when you've got a story, it gets good, and it's that humble nature that really attracted me to Mr. Ziegler over the years. Out of all the ones that I've listened to, and I participated in Tony Robbins stuff. I played around with Daring Hardy's stuff, but I still go back to the days of Mr. Ziegler when he was so humble. When you talk to him, it was like talking to your brother, your father, and he just fully believed that everything he had wasn't from him, that it was was a gift from God, and that he needed to treat it that way. And in that light, he always had that humble nature that gave more than he got.
Yeah.
There's so many. Oh my gosh. I mean, even look in the world of religion, the people who have
come and gone, back in the 80s.
Oh my gosh. Televangelist.
Jimmy and Tammy.
Do you see how much he's made? I'm going to become a televangelist.
Boy, have they. So here's as we were talking about this and the myths and whatnot. Here's the deal: is self-help doesn't work. It just doesn't. It dawned on me over the last couple of weeks, Coach, is that you can focus on things. Okay, so you can focus on things and make yourself better.
Right.
Okay. But a lot of times without a mentor or somebody holding you accountable, you do it and then you stop because it worked. Right. And you take a look at any professional athlete, any professional speaker, any professional singer, any professional at all, anything. And they have a room full of coaches. Tiger Woods, when he was young and the best in the world, he had a swing coach.
Amen.
Right? He had a weight coach who helped him lift weights. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, these guys, they had a shot coach, they had a weightlifting and endurance coach and strength and conditioning coach. They had mental coaches that, you know what I'm saying? They understood to be great and to be the best that you couldn't do it by yourself, right? Yet we are, as a species, are so insecure with who we are and the direction that we've taken in life, and we aren't humble enough to go, you know what? I can't do this alone. I'm going to need a coach, right? And for a lot of people out there with mental illnesses and things like that, they then turn to a therapist. And well, I'm seeing a therapist and they're helping me work on all these issues. And I think that's wonderful. However, that therapist is like a mechanic and saying, I can fix that spark plug for you. Let me walk you through this, right? So I don't, as I'm sitting here thinking, boy, in a lot of my life, I've tried to climb the mountain with no rope, with no net, with no buddy to, belay or whatever they call that.
That's exactly what they call it.
And that's an issue. And then I get up about 6 feet and go, well, this is pretty dang scary. And if I fall here and look around and I don't think I can do this, I'm not going to try. But I did. I bought my mountain climbing shoes, my mountain climbing,
my carabiners that
Yeah,
now hold my keys.
yeah, all that. And I got up 6 feet, so I gave it a good try and go, yeah, no,
I don't.
I'm
think
done.
so.
I'm done. And that's what self-help and the self-help industry is, I think.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. When you're reading a book and taking all the information out of it, you are trying to become your own accountability partner.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Chokes them right up.
And I don't know how it's worked for you, but we're not really good as our own accountability partner. And that book isn't going to reach out and slap you and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to follow that. Having that person in your life, whether it's an accountability partner like you and I do for each other,
Yeah.
whether it's a mentor, someone who's been where you want to go, whether it is a life coach or someone you hire, a counselor, a therapist, there's got to be someone else that's going to help you take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to hold you accountable. Einstein is quite often credited with saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Several years I coined my own definition of insanity, and that's doing something that works and not doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And when we read these books, and you're probably over 60 books this year.
Yeah, I'm over 60 books this year.
And each of them has a tidbit in them. But can you apply those 60 tidbits to your life without letting go of it, one from an earlier book, so I can do this one? It's hard.
Yeah. Shana says it does work. People just forget the quote unquote self part. Thinking and contemplation takes effort. Outsourcing seems like an option, not a good one, in my opinion. That's a good one, Coach.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, let's go back to this. Outsourcing seems like an option, not a good one in my opinion. Now,
I think I need to know what she means by outsourcing.
Well, I think maybe going, she's saying self-help does work. That, people just forget the self part. Thinking and contemplation takes effort. So she's saying here, outsourcing seems like an option, not a good one. So is outsourcing, Shana, are you saying outsourcing is is getting a book or, following
hiring
a
someone,
quote unquote guru, or is it like hiring a coach or something of that nature? Now, outsourcing thinking. Yeah. So having somebody else try to tell you.
As an athletic coach, have you ever competed in a game as a coach?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, you're able to suit up and walk right out on that court.
Yeah, all the time.
But without
No.
without the coach, the athletes they will get lost out there. And I think it's important to have someone in your life. And I'm not saying to give them responsibility for your life. You have personal responsibility for your life, but you also can't see your life from the outside. We get locked in to what we think we're doing is okay until somebody, says, "Hey, what you're doing is not okay."
How's that working for you?
And then having that critical, without being evil about it, but being critical. My daughter, I worked on her jump shot for years. When she would do it correctly, she was a good shooter, but then she would always fade back to some of her bad habits.
Mhm.
I coached her up through her sophomore year in high school. Her junior year, she made the varsity team, and I was kind of happy that I just get to sit back and watch now. And she comes home from her first practice, and she was all excited. She says, Dad, come out, grab the basketball. We go outside. She goes, look what Miss J taught me. And she performed the jump shot I've been teaching her for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
But it was because she heard another voice. My voice, she was so used to, it almost tuned out. But when she heard another voice from the outside say this, she was able to perform it. I think in our life, we tune out our own voice. We don't.
Well, hey, Tobe. Good morning. My weekend was crazy. I think you were in the area this past weekend, and I apologize. I should have reached out, but of course, life takes control a lot of times. We don't always self-help ourselves with the unbiased accountability that having another physical being holds us to. It's a forest versus tree kind of thing, right? Yeah. So I have never, and Toby's known me since I was a kid when we were hanging out in a treehouse, at his place. I've never let myself down. Right? We'll use DDOE as an example. Been running this business since 2018, and I've had several different partners that have one's still around, but I've killed two of them. Right now, that's the social
Not
media.
literally.
Not literally. They have died whilst being my partners. Listen, the fact of the matter is, if I've got a bill to pay or I've got a bill to send to somebody, I'll get it tomorrow. I never let myself down. Right? Listen, with all good intentions, I love the people. I'll get them that bill. It is what it is. Hey, right? And so I never ever let I get up in the morning, I have a cup of coffee, and I go, it's a new day. I'll get it today. Today comes and goes, and I'm still happy. I look in the mirror and go, all right, life's still good. Okay. So I never have let myself down. Have I been disappointed in some of my actions? Sure. Have I let myself down? No, because I love myself too much. Right. So self-help for Kent, I can read a book, to your point, and say, oh, let me try this and put this into work and go, it was okay. But I'm still not letting myself down. Here's where I want to try to walk people away with help you move you in a different direction. I guess if you are a self-help or you're afraid of not trying to have an accountability partner, but you never you'll always make an excuse for yourself, I guess, right? So it's, hey, if it's meant to be, it'll be.
Amen.
Oh, you know what?
Que sera,
I guess
sera.
God didn't want me to be wealthy.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. So we make up all of these excuses or explanations as to why I haven't achieved the level of success that I think I should. Now, all of the great people throughout history have had not a coach, and they didn't necessarily hire a coach, but they had a mentor. They had an accountability partner. They had the ability to have someone encourage them and change the way that they work. Case in point, as you go back to life, the bottom line is, let's go back to school. I don't care if it's grade school, high school, college, whatever. When I say this, who was your favorite and best teacher who made the biggest impact on your life? You say who?
Coach Eckenlively. Rex, I still talk to him to this day. When I'm getting down, I just need a pump up. I give him a call. He's in his late 70s now. He's still out walking, but he is that voice in my head. When I'm out doing things, it said, this is the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Probably the guy that stands out the most is Dave Burgess, and he was my fifth and sixth grade teacher back in Dubuque, Iowa, and he was a scout leader, just a good guy, and then in junior high, and Toby, this will throw Toby off a little bit here, Mr. Olson.
Mr. Olson.
Mr. Olson was the shop teacher, right? They had him in the basement of this. He must have been 6'10". The dude was huge. And they had him in the basement of this old school at Oak Street. He'd always have cuts on his head from hitting, the furnace and stuff like that. But anyway, but I still, from those two guys, I still use a lot of things. Now, when I moved into high school, it was Mr. Oh boy, I gotta think of his name.
Smith.
No. Anyway,
Jones.
Anyway, we did a see, then you get old, you forget those things because I don't have an accountability partner. We did an entrepreneur. It was business class, and of course every high school guy wants to open a bar, so we had to create a business, open a bar. And he looked at me and he goes, Jones, you're going to be the banker. You're going to make a good banker. I'm like, what? Oh, I want to open a bar. Hey, this is it. And then guess what I'm doing in life?
You're a banker.
I'm a banker. So he saw something in me that I didn't see at that time. Anyway, the name will come to me either later on this show or whatever.
Why is it so easy to remember his
that's
name?
Right, that's right. So the idea is you don't need to hire somebody, right? Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker did not hire Yoda, right? But Yoda held them accountable.
Yep.
Now, you could go on to say that Yoda doesn't even exist. That Yoda is a figment in their imagination that motivates them to do everything.
Exist, I do very much.
Right. So there we could go down that rabbit hole for a long time, which is good too. But the idea is a mentor, and I don't like the word coach because I understand the game of basketball, and the game of basketball has a set parameter time limit, and you develop a game plan and a play for that time limit. Life doesn't have a time limit. It just doesn't.
An exact time limit.
Right.
I mean, our time is limited, but we don't know
Right.
when that
So I
day
can't
is.
say, hey, you know what? We need to go make 20 passes and take off 3 minutes off the clock before we take a shot.
Right.
Because I don't know when the shot clock expires. Right. So I can't coach your life. I can't be a life coach for you. Right. Shana says, identity group think, for example, only a few do the thinking and the rest trust and promote the program. We need more individuals thinking from. Yes, I would absolutely agree.
But not that I want to go down the rabbit hole of
no,
our
it's
school system, but we don't really teach our kids to think for themselves.
No, and that's not. I mean, the we can get.
We get lost in that one really
Right,
deep, really
right.
quick. But we agree with you, Shana.
Yeah, she says Toby's right. The accounting to another motivates him out. Yeah, so I'll use this. Now, when I had business partners in DDOE, and I needed to send out a bill, here, or I needed to collect money, I did it because I told somebody that I would. And then I don't want to show up to that next meeting to say I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
get
forgot.
around to it. Right. So there's that accountability piece. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I had never let myself down. And I always like, well.
But I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
though, about the mentor. And this is one thing I bring up all the time to people who are looking to or sitting down with me to hire me as a coach, is that you may already have the right mentor in your life. Are you listening?
Yeah.
Right. I had a brilliant mentor in my life, but I was too stubborn to admit that my dad was right on a lot of things. And
Yeah.
so that, I put a block up where later in life, when I realized just how important he was and how many years I had wasted not listening to him, that again, so you may already have that mentor in your life. You're just not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when people want to hire me, I talk them through that. You might already have someone. If you don't, I'm happy because it's how I make my living to do that. But I also don't want to impinge on the opportunity you may have to already have that person in your life, because we all have somebody. We just are not aware of it.
Yeah, and Shannon says, I read making eye contact before making a food decision influenced a healthier selection. A mirror or even a picture of human eyes on the fridge showed impact. That is wild. Yeah, and let's stay there for a minute. There are a ton of scientists, there are a ton of psychologists, there are a ton of psychiatric professionals who understand the way your brain is wired, and understand the way that people do things and why they do things. Let's go to Socrates, if we can. One of the fathers of modern thought, quote unquote, a philosopher, if you will.
Is he the father of soccer? Socrates?
Socrates. And it's just a bunch of hogwash unless somebody goes, oh, he's right. Yeah, he's deep thinker. He's right. Yep. And then I go and take a little bit of his stuff and twist it and take a few commas out and make it my own words. And now they go, see, Kent's work supports Socrates' work. So Socrates is brilliant. And then Coach comes by and he takes mine and puts a few of his thoughts in. And the next thing you know, well, look at, see, that's Socrates right there.
And he's influenced by Socrates.
Yeah. These guys know exactly what they're talking about, these old guys. So nobody really knows what the heck you're talking. You're just taking a guess. You're throwing a dart in the dark until somebody goes, "Whoa, never thought of it that way."
Yeah.
That's pretty deep. And that's what the self-help genre, that's what these books, that's what these motivational speakers, is what all these people do. They're throwing darts in the dark until somebody goes, "I'll buy that book."
Yeah.
Whoa. Right.
Did you remember I think I showed you the video a few years ago of leadership lessons from a dancing guy out dancing on the side of a hill looking like a goofball.
Oh, yeah.
And then, everybody are kind of rolling their eyes on him. Then somebody
Thought he was
joins
on
him.
drugs,
Right.
Yeah.
Then somebody joins him, and then people are starting to take notice. And then the guy who joined him encouraged a few other people to join him, and a few
Yeah.
other people come in. And next thing people are going, well, maybe that's not so bad. I mean, and then next thing you know, the entire hillside is dancing. But it wasn't about the guy dancing about himself. It was about the first guy who came in and said, hey, this
Yeah.
guy's okay. And yeah, absolutely
should be
right.
dancing.
There's not a lot of new thoughts out there. What we're talking about today was talked about in the Bible many years ago, where it said, give a man a fish he eats for today, teach him how to fish he eats for a lifetime. And I think when it comes to self-help, if you're just reading the book, if you just get the book and you read through it and you're entertained, well, you're entertained for a day. But if you actually connect with the lessons in that book and you apply them to your life and they start working, then, you're better for a lifetime.
Yeah. And you see, that's where I go, well, that doesn't make any sense, because what if I'm allergic to fish?
This is true.
Then I can't eat for a lifetime.
Looks like you're going to die.
Yeah. Right. Coming from the Midwest, maybe it's teach a guy to farm.
Teach a guy to hunt.
Right.
Whatever, I'm pretty sure it's a metaphor of some kind in there.
Oh, yeah.
Shana says, what does she say there? I shop people for wisdom. Sometimes the shelves are sparse, but never at 216.
That's right.
She's been caught in the net.
That's right.
And we've been caught in the net, and you've been caught in the net thanks to the financial support of Natural Therapy and Wellness.
Yeah, Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190. You got stress in your life, or even if you don't, you just need it. Sometimes it's just good to have a good, massage therapist, licensed, give you a massage.
Yeah, I go to John at least 3 or 4 times a year. I probably should go more, but it always makes a difference in my life. So, and thank you. He's been one of our sponsors since the very beginning, since September 5th of 2016, when we first launched 2 Bald Guys and a Microphone. So thank you, John, for hanging out with us.
Yeah, you're right, Lisa. Lisa says everyone relates to something that is within the file cabinet of experience. I think that there is an innate need to continually develop as a human being. I think it's wired into our DNA to not be satisfied, to continue to push. And that's where the self-help, as I say, it's $1 billion industry. And that's I heard this guy in a snippet on CNN or whatever the case may be, and he sounded brilliant. So I went out online and I listened to a few of his things, and man, this guy is incredible. They call him snake oil salesman, right? And what are they selling? What are they pushing at that time? And we've seen it in, if you go into modern Christianity, right? You've seen these mega churches come, and what people would call the hey, God wants you to be rich. God wants you
abundance.
And so they've twisted perhaps what a lot of people were tired of hearing, the
Right.
hell and damnation because you're a sinner, to wait a minute, my God's a good God and you need a mansion and a helicopter. And God can give you those things if you just send enough money to my church. Anyway, and people want to feel good. They want to belong. They want to improve. I think there's that constant need to evolve and push, and we think we can do it on our own, and that's the self-help. I don't think the self-help gives lasting change.
Lasting change only happens when we ourselves make a choice and realize within ourselves the things that we need to fix.
Yeah.
And until that happens, as long as we're looking at a blind eye to our own weaknesses, we're not going to get better.
Mhm.
And when we get the book, the self-help book, and we go for a couple of months and it doesn't work, well, that guy is an idiot. The same guy we
Yeah.
thought was a hero 2 months ago, since it didn't work for me, well, he's an idiot, but now let me try this guy
Right.
and this guy. And we keep searching and searching and searching. But the truth is, the answers are within ourselves.
Yeah. So to me, a true mentor, Lisa says, helps you find the light switch, but they don't drag you down a path that you didn't choose. I was hanging out with a dear friend of mine this past week, and we were talking about our kids. And this person was talking about how they really try to, what I would call is the mother hen. Even though my kids are adults, I want them. I don't want them to fall or anything like that. And so I said, well, it's interesting because my kids are grown, right? I've still got a 13-year-old at home, but I've got 3 who are adults. And with those kids, my philosophy, I said, I'm the guru sitting at the top of the mountain. When they need me, they know where to find me, but they have to come up the mountain.
Yep.
And then when they get there, I'm going to just tell them 3 or 4 words. It's going to be like, listen, breathe deeply and look at your toes. Whatever the case, whatever it may be, right? And then they have to try to decipher and figure out, wait a minute, what? All right. There's a lot of things in my life that come out of my mouth that I go, oh, that's my dad. Right? Or
I laugh because it's true.
yeah. Or, oh my gosh, that's, this came from this book, or this came from this person. And so you're right. A true mentor. And we'll probably get into that next week, a little bit of what a coach is or a mentor, and say, okay, what does that person do? And there are still lessons that I reflect on that, Ron shared.
Oh my gosh.
He was a huge mentor to me for that couple of years that he was in my life. We became good friends, but he was, there's still things where I go, oh yeah. And
that's Ron talking.
yeah. And so there's a lot to that, but yeah, you have to be that guru on the mountain that just says very few words, but go and do, yeah.
Go forth and prosper.
That's it.
Nano.
Following someone down a path that isn't yours is not growth. It's following. Growth comes from self-reflection and failure success. Depends. I mean, we could battle that question all day, but it depends. If that person is on the path and the trajectory that I want my life,
Yep.
then maybe that is a good thing, and growth will come from that. Now, it won't be the identical path.
Right.
They have different routes and things, and you're walking side by side. You're not walking right behind, perhaps.
Several years ago, I received a LinkedIn message that said it was from John Maxwell, asking me to be on, the leadership coach on the Maxwell team.
Yeah.
Well, I made the assumption that it was one of his cronies, you
Mhm.
know, reaching out and looking at my profile on LinkedIn and reaching out. And I said, you know, why don't you give me a call? Let's have a conversation. And he called, and it was John Maxwell. And we're talking, and he looked at my military experience and my leadership training, and he thought I'd be a good fit. And I was honored. And I told him that. And I said, you know, John, I'm honored, but John, you're a reference for me. Colin Powell is a reference for me. Ken Blanchard is a reference for me. If I get in your program, I'm not a leader. I'm following John Maxwell. But if I take what you've taught me, I take what I've learned from Ken Blanchard, the Minute Manager, and some of the other things, and watching Colin Powell, and I put that together into my leadership program, that I'm following my own path, but I'm taking advice or mentorship from these people who have walked their own paths very successfully. So I think I like what you're saying here is, you know, we create our own path when we can take the things we like out of life. All of my kids have had good coaches throughout their athletic careers and bad coaches. And we're starting to witness the same thing with our grandchildren. And certain people in my life will encourage me to go talk to these coaches and say, you know, you're not coaching my kid the right way.
Yeah.
But I think in experiencing a bad coach, experiencing a good coach, we take what we need out of them to create our own path. So Lisa, I think that was well said.
Yeah. When you factor the science of belief and things like the placebo effect, maybe some have a life hack or two. I'd like to know.
Or like two bald guys and a microphone.
Stay open, but don't let your brain fall out, as what my grandma used to say. Yeah, no, you're right. And that's why I say, people ask, you know, I'd have to look. I'm probably close to 70 books, you know, read this year. And people are like, well, what are you getting out of those? I go, you know what? I'm not sure yet, but I feel better. I think clearer. It's going into, you know, perhaps the subconscious piece of my brain. And I'm catching things and talking a little differently in some situations. I'm noticing things. So books are not necessarily supposed to be recipes.
Yeah.
Right. There are things that I learned in my education in high school, junior high, and into into college, that are still stuck in there as well. Why do I need to know, you know, how to figure out the mean of things? I don't, but I don't use that in a daily life, but I know how to do that. So there's skills and things that are out there that you need to know. But a book is not a recipe, and a book does not. You can't read a book and it change your life. I mean, you can read the Bible; it'll change your life, I think. But you know,
well, but you still have to apply it.
You have to apply it, right? A good guru turns on the light, but you have to open your eyes. Yeah, there's a lot to that too. Maybe the light was always on. Training wheels are okay for a little while. Yeah, and then they're also okay when later in life when you can't hold yourself upright.
That's right.
You know, you got to go back to that. Lisa says, correct. You have to have the discernment to know when you venture off the path because it's time. There's a lot to that.
One of the lines in one of my songs says, I've seen the path that's right. I've seen the path that's wrong. I tried to take the right path, but at times it seemed so long. And all these little detours hidden along the way, well, they pull me from the right path and push me the other way. And I think what I'm trying to say in there is we see the right path, but there's so many distractions in life that are going to pull us off. Mm-hmm. And we have to maintain our focus. And you may be reading a book that's, you know, kind of one of the off the wall kind of books, and a guy thinking a little bit different than the way most other people think. And you're like, well, maybe that's good. And that if that pulls you off the path that you're on, is it that good? So keeping our focus on the right path, you know, if you're a faith person, keep your focus on God, keep your focus on doing the things you're supposed to do, and understanding that distractions are going to be there every day, and knowing when is it just a distraction, or when is it something that you need to step up to the plate and take care of?
Right. Absolutely. I'm just jotting something down. All right, good. That's the huge truth. Let's see. Lisa says NLP helps the person discover for themselves why they think the way they do, and in many cases, the illogical of it. When they discover it versus are told, it tends to promote true thought and charge, and that's where self-help rolls in.
Right.
I discovered it. I read that. Now, it is true that when you read a book, your brain can't tell you hear it in your voice. Your brain doesn't know if you're thinking it or reading it. It just so you're going, aha, I thought that. Aha, right?
And NLP stands for, if I'm not mistaken, neural linguistic programming.
Yeah. Books should bring insights and thought and possibly. Sometimes the so-called wrong path brings you what you need for the right path, whether it be experience, appreciation, or something else. I got it written right up here. Mary Shep said it. Sometimes you may have to make a wrong turn to end up on the right path.
I like that.
Right. What you would tab as a wrong term. Self-help is, and I'm not trying to poo on the industry, because I don't read fiction, right? I like history, but I also, if you look at my library, it's full of books to help me be a better person, to help me change or do something different.
If you look at those 70 books you're reading, and I don't expect an exact answer on this, but how many of them are saying the same thing in a different way?
Oh, they're all saying the same thing in a different way.
So I've heard it said that we need to, and before we really apply something to our life, we need to hear it from 7 different people in 7 different modalities, 7 different times, before it starts to impact. The first time we hear it, it's entertaining. The second time, it's thought provoking, and then it becomes a part of us. And a lot of, the 5 steps of becoming more attentive to your spouse, the 5 love languages,
Right.
and all of these things. And when you start piecing them together, like you say, your subconscious is a great puzzle.
Yeah.
Putter together. And it's taking all of this and it's connecting the dots down deep within. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to become a better person for it, not because you're following any independent recipe in there, but because you are, continuing to put the puzzle together.
Yeah. Consider that you're in a, you're a well frog. Right?
A well frog.
And a well frog is a frog that is stuck in a well. A well is a deep hole where
Water.
people get water. For those people out there listening who aren't sure what either one of those things are. And the well frog lives in the well and is happy, and that's its world, right? And you have to get out of there, okay? So, how many years ago was it now? 5 to somewhere in the last 10 years, the boys, the soccer team that went spelunking in the cave. And was that the Philippines or Vietnam or something? I don't know.
Philippines. I think it was Turkey.
Anyway,
someplace over there. It wasn't in the United States.
It was not in the United States. And these boys were in, and they had torrential rains, and it flooded the cave, and they were a mile. They continued to search for ways out. They continued to search for to higher ground, and they went a mile deep or a mile and a half deep into this cave to where they couldn't go any further, and they had to try to stay alive or whatever. Now, first of all, I think you're crazy if you're going, if you go into a cave and can't see light, or you have to suck in your gut to get through something. I think that you're crazy. You should never do that. I'm just, I'm not that guy. but you know, you got to keep searching and trying to find a way to survive and do.
It was in Thailand.
Thailand, thank you. Yeah, and eventually they sent rescuers in, and one of the rescuers were like, "Yep, we'll get this figured out." He was a cave diver for the military, a Navy SEAL cave diver, and he didn't make it. He ended up dying.
Right.
But then they ended up finding a way to get those kids out, and they had to basically drug them to put them asleep and drag them behind them as they held onto a rope because the waters in this cave and everything was so dark. And they had to do it in such a time because those drugs would wear off, right? But they had to knock these kids out because they didn't want them to panic or fight against anything, right? Wow, right?
Yeah.
But that's the idea: is how do we continue to navigate through life and through this cave of life to try to make a better life for ourselves and make ourselves better on a daily basis, without the help of somebody who knows the cave.
So Lisa may have an answer there. It's not everyone is for everyone. There's a very popular motivator who I met, not saying a name. They did not resonate for me at all. I used that experience as what I didn't want to do or be. Doesn't make it bad, just says I didn't learn something. They do what I wish to do, but I know enough about me to know it wouldn't be genuine for me. Have you found that in any of the books that you read as you're going through it, and maybe didn't finish a book because it was taking you down a path you didn't want to go down?
No, because it's at the point of uncomfortability that people stop.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not agreeing with something or in one of those books, I continue to go through open-minded because who am I?
Yeah.
Right? I don't necessarily have to try or follow through on those things, but the worst thing I could do is put that book down or stop listening, because there's a reason, that I chose that title, right? And I think the idea of self-help is to say, all right, got you up in the plane, jump. We didn't talk about skydiving. Yeah.
We were in Jamaica and we went on a zip line tour, and the guy brought his wife and didn't tell her what they were doing. And she screamed the entire time. I think we had 9 zips that we went down. Hey, we're in the last 2 minutes. What do you got coming up this week? What
do we have here? Of course, is it the 8th tomorrow? Today's the 7th. So
today's the 6th.
The 6th. Oh, there you go. So perhaps tomorrow we've got a couple of shows. The new show for Anything Goes with Bremer and Jones. We're going to talk about a lot about the paranormal. We're going to talk about ghosts because I'm riveted by paranormal activity, whether it be ghost, aliens, or whatever. We're going to talk a lot about that. We'll have some ghost hunters and chasers and people who deal with paranormal on a lot. And let me tell you something, brother. Is jumping up. No, they're not. That's going to be up on the 14th, maybe. And then just, the regular shows, innovative strategies, questions you never thought you could ask the church. Bare Facts on Guns is going to be on a special week. They're going to be on Thursday. Just crazy stuff. So a lot of good things happening.
Awesome. How about you personally?
Personally, next Monday, I will not be here. Next Monday, I will be celebrating my 30th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So Alice and I we're heading up to Door County for a little bit of rest and relaxation over the weekend. And
I'll be looking for a guest co-host to step in.
Come on in, Lisa, and talk about that. But what I would just ask people to do is follow us and stay with us. Your week, what's that look like?
I take off for Toronto tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll be up in Toronto talking on combat brain training and just moving forward.
When do you get back?
I get back on
There
Thursday
you
around 6 in the evening. So I'll
Nice.
spend the day in Toronto Thursday and then fly home.
All right.
Well,
Hey, listen, we can't thank you enough. Yeah, I know you do. So I know you do. We'll have you on as a guest, I'm sure. Thank you, Shayna. For all of us here at 21.6 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net with us this morning. No better way to start your week than with
two bald guys and a microphone. And it's time to now get off the bench and get back in the game. Enjoy your week, guys. We'll see you on Monday.